your subconscious will backtrack. I think what keeps people in alignment and what makes relationships really work is that continual desire to level up, or has how you say it, upgrade. Like if you're constantly upgrading together, then you have a shared vision and you have a shared alignment.
You have wondered what you would be able to do if you were the ultimate version of you, right? You would then have an easy time creating what you want, and yes, effortlessly enjoying life too. Now, you may know this already, the influence you have over your reality is far beyond what you've been told. Soon, you realize that your outer world is merely a mirror of your inner world, and we're here to connect the dots for you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to God Mode.
Good to see you guys. And everyone, welcome back to God Mode. This episode, we have two very special guests that I hold very dear to my heart. And these are good people that we've gotten to know over the last, would you say a year?
No, probably 2-3 years.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. It's been. Oh yeah, that's true, huh? I was still in Utah at the time. Crazy. I was like 2021 that we met.
Yep.
And Sam, as you guys probably know, if you don't yet, please Google him. He's basically like the king in the door-to-door world. And he's built a system and a wonderful organization that helps elevate the people who are in the door-to-door and sales industry to become their best. And so I'm going to wait to introduce Dee to you because she's very extra special. And the stories that brought them together, I think, is one of a kind. Now, that being said, one of a kind, many of you who have been listening to us know that we teach this formula in our trainings, how to design the one romantically. And I'm not going to say too much yet because we'll get into it later. But I think you guys are in for a treat to hear the story of how they met, how they came together, and how every step of the way they got closer as they got to know what they want more in detail. So we look forward to sharing this with you guys. And also, if you got to know Dee, I'll say this. She's incredibly spiritual. And just in the brief time that I got to get to know her, I have learned how intuitive and natural she is in not only picking up the signals, if you know what I mean, but also the minute things that are going on between human interactions and or even beyond that. And she's had a lot of maybe an understatement, would you say? Perhaps it's like a daily occurrence of spiritual experiences that are quite phenomenal. And so the two of them coming together, I think it's a beautiful, not only a beautiful story, but a phenomenon that we could all strive to achieve in a sense. And so welcome to the show and thank you for being here.
So honored to be here.
Appreciate Thank you. This is exciting. Cool.
I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch anything that Sam and Dee, I think Dee's starting a new podcast.
Yeah.
Absolutely gonna.
It's called Her Expansion. Yeah, I just started it, and it's been a really fun journey to just showcase the best in the women that come into my studio and space.
Wow. Yeah, definitely check it out. And then, I mean, Sam's been doing what he's doing for how long now?
8 years. 8 years, yeah.
Wow. That's cool. That sounds like we started Upgrade around the same time. So we started, yeah, that's cool. Sam's got great content. There's a lot of wonderful, wonderful things that you'll learn if you follow these two wonderful humans. I want to dive right in for the audience if you guys are cool with that.
Yeah.
If you don't mind telling me what happened right before, I know I'm involved, but I want you to tell it, right? What happened before you met each other? What happened right before you met each other? And then we'll get to the next step.
Well, let's kind of rewind a little bit more for some context. So I was married for 9 years and 3 kids. And just like, I'm from Utah, grew up religious, and, it's kind of this, like, they tell you how to do things, like go on a mission, get home, get married, and I felt like always kind of trapped in this like box as I was married, and I felt like it wasn't going the direction I wanted it to, really unhappy. And a lot of that, I'll take ownership of that. I was buried in work, and anyway, got divorced, um, started dating, was dating a girl for about it, on and off for a year. Great time, but it just didn't feel like I'm like, yeah, we keep doing this dance, but I'm like, you're not the one, right? When you say the one. And so took a break, and I was like, yeah, we're done. Like, it was just kind of like clarity. Sometimes like you just cut it hard turkey. Sometimes like, yeah, let's phase this out. Anyway, so I start getting back on the single market again, and being on the single market as a now, successful entrepreneur, and you kind of a little bit more advanced in how you can be single. I was just like, this is a bad rabbit hole to go down. Like, it's like, this is not what I'm wanting. And it was great because I got an itch out maybe that I had never been able to itch, essentially, like as a 20-year-old.
I like how transparent you are. That's
Yeah,
cool.
like it was like I
Yeah.
got the itch out, and then I
Yeah.
realized this isn't what I want. And I think some people, like, maybe if you're listening, you're still in that, and then eventually it'll be like, okay, this is not sustainable, and this isn't the loop I want to be stuck in. And
This is the type of conversations that too many people are too afraid to have.
yeah, that's like I was like,
Which-
let's give some context, because here's the piece. Like, I think somebody's sitting down saying, I want to design the one. If they didn't have that context, knowing that they were married to the person they never saw, like the authentic side of me needs to come out, because it was like, you sit and visualize like you as an older couple. I never could see me and my ex as an older couple together. And like subconsciously, there was something sabotaging that relationship, deeper rooted at a constant basis from initiation. Even like I tried to call the wedding off.
wow.
So like I'm talking like real programmed back early, and I just almost got sold and resold 3-4 times over to just do it, dude. Just get married. Like it'll be great. I'm like, but that like wasn't what was internally calling. But I went through it. I did the thing that everybody tells you to do. And then she's begging to have kids. I'm like, I don't want kids. She's like, give me a baby. You know what I mean? It was just this constant uphill fight. And I was
Wow.
like, this isn't what I'm designing. And so, I went through this single phase, and then I realized like I had this come to where it was like, no, I really do want a queen. I really do want somebody I can share my life with, and my experiences, and my, wake up to the same person every day. You know what I mean? And I think too many people, they try to design the one without really their subconscious saying, I need this. That's like, yeah, it sounds good, but you're really not ready for it. You know what I mean? Like, and I think there's some out of alignment
Beautiful.
element. And I was going down a path where I was like, okay, so I had to clean up my act. Then all of a sudden I hire you to come out and speak in South Carolina. And I'm sitting in a training, just like probably some of you guys have been in. And he came and spoke. I throw big sales events, and we hosted one in South Carolina. And he's just a facilitator, an hour speech, you know what I mean? But afterward, I was like, man, that was really good. And I'm, he's telling me, he's like, I designed my wife down to the nose. And I was like, oh, you can do this on a person? I'm like, yeah. Because you were going through Lambos, and you were going through all this stuff, right? Like, and so that next morning, it was a Thursday night, you spoke. Friday morning, I wake up, we're in this big old cool cabin thing. And I remember, instead of meditating, I remember specifically sitting on the floor in the basement, and it was dark, and I'm journaling a full page, designing out the one.
Action taker.
Yeah, I'm an implementer. That's one thing, like any business owner listening to this, I'm the first to be like the student, and I get shit done. Like, I was already posting jobs. I've already listed my 25 attributes since your last training, and the 25 attributes of a team, and we haven't even finished lunch, bro. Like, I'm like already posted, like, I'm a quick, like,
That was like 2 hours ago.
that was 2 hours ago to
I
put
did
some
it
context.
as well. Like as he was doing it, I'm like, attributes, started writing them down.
Oh, it's done. Like, I've already got
Wow.
job ad posted. Like, so I've learned in business, like, there's so many times we want to procrastinate, we're afraid to do something. So I wake up the next morning, I'm in a dark, quiet place. There's a lot of people, it's like 6 a.m, and it was so clear. Like, I was like, okay, I just need to describe them out. So about a month later, I'm on the dating app, and when I say described, like, I'm talking like hey, looks like Kylie and this other girl and this girl, if they were to have a baby, you know what I mean? Like I was like to the looks, to the love, like I and so this girl comes out like, damn, that's my type. Where I was married to a 5 foot nothing brunette, a little thicker, you know what I mean? I was like, that's not what I wanted. I wanted a beautiful blonde, like, you know what I mean? Like that was my type. Like I knew that, like I knew even when I got married, I was like, my type has always been this. And I was showing D like a couple weeks ago, I was like, look at my yearbook and the people I had crushes on. And you were to go back to that, like in high school and middle school, who I liked. You know what I mean? And then I married something totally different. I'm like, what the hell?
So here's the question real fast as you continue. What if reality in terms of time, right, being nonlinear, past didn't cause the present, the future? What if it's because your relationship now, your mind was getting signals of what you will eventually marry, so you were starting to have crushes on the girls that looked and felt like her.
Yeah, getting me familiarized with what I was about to have. Yeah.
That is so big.
Oh,
and
so
not
good.
only big, because like we just found a journal from when I was 17 and it was the same thing.
Wild.
We'll have to talk about that, but
yeah,
keep telling the story.
So I meet this girl, we go to breakfast, and I'm literally at breakfast. I'm like, I drew you up. She's like, what? And I was like, I swear, like, I literally wrote a whole page. And then like our second date, I like showed her and she's like, well, this is weird. And when you met her, I call William. I'm like, William, you're in Utah? Let's go on a double date. So we all go to dinner, and I'm at dinner like, and something like, even then something didn't feel right because it was this element of like, she wasn't super interested. She was like, there was a lot of force here. And it was like, I want this to work. You said that I could draw her up and blah, blah, but I realized she had daddy issues. She didn't communicate right. She had a lot of insecurities. She was like way too much into alcohol, like not in the, you know what I mean? All these things. And I was like, damn it.
Shouldn't have bought that dinner.
Yeah, like, yeah, so I go to Egypt. I then go to Egypt for a week, and I was going to take her, and she didn't come. And I'm actually really, really grateful she didn't come.
Oh.
So I do bucket list trips, and I took like 15 people to Egypt, and it was this bucket list trip. And the whole time she's like pulling on my heartstrings because she like go a day without texting back. And then she'll like tease me here, and then like totally playing this game. And I'm like sitting in this, like on this bucket list trip, and I'm just like, why is she soaking up so much of my mental energy? Why is this so difficult? Like, why doesn't she just text back? We call, we have a good conversation. Like, it's just killing me. Like total manipulation. Like, I was like, so then I'm sitting in Egypt, it's the last day, and I'm like, F this chick. Like, and I'm with all the bros, you know what I mean? I was like, F this. Like, I don't deserve this. I need to rewrite. So on the plane ride home, you got a long flight, you know, Egypt to Utah. I draw 4 pages, and I wrote on the top, I put partner 2.0. And I said, I wasn't particular enough. Communicates well, doesn't have daddy issues. It's like it is seamless,
games.
Doesn't play games. I literally wrote that. Doesn't play games, doesn't need to be the hard to get game. I don't need to play some hard to get game imposter. You know, I wrote all this stuff, and I wrote down to love language, down to hobbies, down to like
now we're talking
interests. I said, wants to do this, loves to do this. I don't have to force this. You know how like a lot of relationships are like, yeah, I'll now take on mountain biking because my boyfriend likes mountain biking. It was like, you like to mountain bike? I like to mountain bike. How often do you mountain bike? I bike all the time. I bike all the time. You want to golf? I like to golf. Let's golf. And we know the crazy hot girl matrix. They say in that YouTube video, it's a unicorn. Yeah, that's a unicorn.
The unicorn. Keep it in the lab and test it.
Yeah, package it up, take it in a lab. And
the matrix is not real, right? If they believe that, they will filter out all the girls that are amazing.
Yes.
That are beautiful and have everything else.
And I had subscribed to that believing. I keep telling D, I'm like, I got you in my box, and I'm putting you under the lab. But what I'm saying is we had to recondition some of the beliefs, because for some reason somebody says, if you want a really hot girl that's not crazy, that doesn't exist. You know what I mean? So might as well settle for a 7. So my whole internal, does that make sense? Yeah. So I even knew, I called a friend. This is stuff I've never said. So this is shit that I don't even know if D knows this.
This is awesome.
I remember calling my buddy Taylor. I'm 21, right off my mission, dating Katie. And I was like, I'm asking her to marry me. I don't think I've ever even told you this. And I was like, she's like a 10 personality, but a 7 on the looks. And he goes, bro, you're going to end up looking at porn Because if you already think your wife's a 7, after you're married a year or 2, she's probably a 5.
Snap.
That's a hard conversation. I exactly remember I'm driving in this Xterra Jeep. I know exactly where that conversation happened still to this effing day. And I don't think I've ever shared this.
You at least had a friend that was blunt.
He was blunt. He goes, you're going to end up looking at some porn and you're into this thing. And that's exactly what effing happened. So it's like, and I'm not saying every dude is going to marry.
Right.
Like, I'm just saying my experience.
This is important to bring up. Things that no one is willing to talk about, or people are too afraid to talk about.
I'm pretty open book. Like, so I don't think I've shared this. Have I ever shared that even with you?
You can share that.
And so I'm like sitting here and I'm like, okay, William said I can draw it down to the effing nose. And I'm dating this chick. This is actually an important piece. I'm on this date. She'd flown from Dallas, Texas. And I'm up in Park City, Utah. And this is probably 2 weeks after I'd written Partner 2.0. She comes to Utah. I have the weekend with her. We're in Park City. And remember how I said there was 2 names? I don't even know if I've told you this. So I'm in a random boutique. It was all chicks' clothes too. I don't even know why. I'm in this random boutique on Main Street in Park City. And I look to my right. And lo and behold, the chick's name that I'd written in my effing diary was modeled for this local boutique. And I see the signs. I'm like, I'm getting closer. Granted, the girl that I brought out was a brunette, 5'2", not what I had drawn. And so I'm kind of like, this is fun, but I'm like, you don't fit all these boxes. Like, you're not, this is what it's not. I like you, you're fun, you have some cool attributes. And I look over to the left, I'm like, oh, that's what it was on the look.
The poster reminded you.
The poster, she was a model for the damn, like in the boutique. Remember how I said if these 3 girls had a baby? She was one of them, Nicola. And I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, well, there's a sign. And internally, I'm on this date. I'm like, don't say anything. Just look left. That's cool. I know her. Just like move on, right? A week later, kid you not. So it was about a month after I'd written Partner 2.0. All of a sudden, D pops up. And I think this is, I can let her talk, but she sends me like it was on a dating app. And I was like, I don't care how I meet her. Like, I'm not ashamed of saying I met her on an app or like I
leverage everything.
I never wrote that. I said, I will meet her seamlessly. I don't care how. I just want her to have this 4 pages later, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, it doesn't need, like, I don't need to have some sexy story. Some people I think are too attached on the story of how it happened. And
saved her
from... like I was a damsel in distress. Yeah.
It is a sexy story.
It is a sexy story. But I think so many people are ashamed of like, yeah, I met her on a dating app. Cool, I did it. She sends a message and she messaged me, which I did write. It is very seamless and comes easily. Most hot babes on a freaking dating app are like, hell no, they're not messaging you. And they have thousands of messages sitting in DMs, and you are playing against thousands of other good-looking dudes. And it is like, they get their pick, right? She'd been on the app for a total of 5 hours.
Mm-hmm.
She had DM'd a total of 4 people she reached out to. And I was one of them.
Out of hundreds that I X'd on. Only 4 got like personally hearted and maybe a comment.
And she says, you're a vibe. And my reply was, welcome to my life.
That is awesome. That's smooth.
And that's it.
And I'm like, who does this guy think he is? Welcome to your life. I was like, oh, if your life's so special, what's something you want to do that you haven't done yet? And he's like, what about you? I'm like, I'd like to go on a hot air balloon. And redirecting conversation so that it was focused on me and the interest becomes in him. That's kind of like how we met.
What's buck wild too is I put my biggest fear. So my Instagram, and this is kind of an interesting piece of the story too. My Instagram got hacked by some Ukrainian dude and stole, like completely gone, about 2 months prior. So I had no Instagram. She had no idea context of who I was. I had started a new Instagram with like 500 followers, maybe 300 followers pretty quick. And it was like, she's like researching who's Sam Taggart, and he has 500 followers.
One post, and it's like, I'm rewriting my story. I'm like, did you just get out of jail or something? Like, what's going on here?
So she has no context. We go on this first date. Her friend was like, I guess that's a piece.
My friend knew of him because she was also in the sales world, but she knew of him married with 3 kids. And so she goes, you're finally talking to somebody. I'm so excited. Like, let me see who it is. So I show her, and she's like, oh my gosh, she's married with 3 kids. And I was like, oh, heck no, I'm not even saying one more word to this guy. Like, I'm not even going down that route. Just like a whole can of worms in itself. So I just ghost him. And he had sent a big long message trying to get to know me, asking so many questions. And the next day I felt kind of bad. So I just said like something really short, like, thanks, that's really cool. Sounds like you got a lot going for you, period. And literally right after, he starts calling me. And I'm like, this dude is calling me. Like, I was trying to be like really blunt so that I could like end it and go on a date with another guy that they were kind of trying to set me up with. And he calls me. And so I'm like, oh, what do I do? Like, you know, when you're like panicking, you're like, oh, you know, that's kind of how I felt. So I was like, oh, I guess I'll answer it. I'm like, hi, hello. And he's like, what are you doing tonight? I'm like, I'm going country dancing with all my friends. It's like me and 9 of my friends. I'm like the 9th reel, but it's fun. I love it. And he's like, well, then I'm coming. And I'm like, what? I got to talk to them. Like, I'll get back to you. Hang up the phone. Then, like, literally 5 minutes later, he sends me, we're going to this sushi place. I booked a reservation for 10 at this time. Can you all make it? And I'm like, oh, shoot. Like, gotta talk to them, make sure. And they were all cool with it. They're like, yeah, sushi sounds great. Let's go. And if you're going to meet a guy, it's good to meet him with all of us. And they were just stoked out of their mind that I was talking to somebody, because I was single for 3 years, just no interest. And everyone was trying to set me up with everyone. And I was just like, I don't need no man. I'm never going to get married again. I'm independent, self-sustained, like taking care of me. It's all good. And power of words, I had said, never going to get married again. Never going to get married again. Never going to get married again. When I thought that's what I was saying, I didn't realize that my mind was actually hearing,
get married again.
Get married, get married, get married. And so context of words, it's like, don't focus on the things that you don't want if that's not what you want, right? Like, there's certain words that you can insert that your mind will naturally attract to if you keep repeating them the same way for 100 times. And then whether you recognize it's in a negative or positive context. And anyways, that's kind of how we ended up meeting. But the week before we met, I went to a meditative retreat. And this is where the story comes full circle. He had designed the 4 pages, but I was also doing some active work on figuring out, what do I really want? And I went to a meditative retreat in Snow Canyon, St. George, which is like this beautiful place. And the energy there is amazing. It's like a vortex of just goodness. And I stayed there and I got challenged. It was like, what are you really wanting in life at this time? And I was like, nothing. Like, I'm good. Like, I love me. I'm freaking on top of the world. Like, I've just been spending the last 3 years doing personal development, getting to know myself. Like, I really felt confident in myself. And that's why I'm like, yeah, I'll go country dancing and I'll find a date there or whatever. But they're like, no, what are you wanting? I'm like, well, I guess genuine connection, genuine friendship, somebody I can like dive deep with, somebody that will
ride or die,
hear me out, and somebody that will like wants to explore and experience all that life has to offer and isn't like stuck in some one-way thing. And they're like, where are you going to find this person? I'm like, a personal development conference. Of course, like that's a good place to find guys. If they're working on themselves and I'm working on myself, then we'll work together, right? And they're like, inner circle, outer circle, anybody in there? I'm like, nobody, not a soul. Okay, well, you're going to have to do something different. And I'm like, against the dating app thing. No way, not even happening. And that wasn't what came to mind. But I left that retreat, and 3 days later is when my friend was like, we need to get you on a dating app. And so that was the difference of like someone pushing me to get out on a dating app. And it wasn't even in my mind, but they had put it in my mind, like without me knowing, or put it in my path without me knowing. Cause then I started being like open to the idea of a dating app.
She lasted 12 hours on it. I was like, swoop,
12 hours.
Delete that app, please. Let's take away distractions.
There was so many distractions on there. Like it was just, I felt like I was on top of the world. Like the amount of likes and roses and I'm like, wow, like I'm like desirable or something, which was great for my ego, you know? But yeah, so then I downloaded it and that happened like right after. But at that retreat, I also wrote down things that I wanted. I wanted somebody who is ambitious, somebody who's successful, somebody who's self-motivated, somebody who's fit and healthy, like very general things. But I knew what I wanted because I had been married for 6 years and I saw things that I did not like and did not want. And I knew too, my own personal weakness is pushing people because I desired personal development. And so I needed someone that was also ready to self-push because I pushed someone away trying to push them too much. I hurt somebody in their insecurities trying to push them too much. And so I'm like, I need somebody who's like that. And it just so happens, like, I found somebody who loves that and also loves personal development. And like, while I asked for someone that I would meet at a personal development conference, I get someone who is a king of personal developing. And
we are hosting one right now in Arizona.
Yeah.
2 of them. We have 2 this week here in Arizona. That's why
kind of an interesting context of like, I asked for that. I wasn't very specific, but I got that, right? And then we actually recently just found a journal of mine from when I was 17, and I had listed all the attributes I wanted in somebody. And unfortunately, my former husband didn't meet half of them. And then I was like, oh my gosh, Sam meets all of these. This is just like mind blowing. And I'm like, between all of this, so there is some context of like, you draw what you attract. And I think like there's a lot of power in our story because we were both actively working towards that. And I think I don't believe in coincidences. I believe that we've known each other. Like you said, time is not linear. Like we've known each other from before and after, and somehow we were looking to find each other, because that's a really cool part of the story too.
Yeah, I mean, fast forward a few months, like there was some friction. It was seamless. After night 1, it was I that night we country danced. Then I convinced her to come back to my place, kind of strategically.
Action taker.
Had no, like, I just was like, I genuinely was like, I do not want this night to end. Like, it was like, there was no like, ooh, look at me, just like treating you like it was more like I genuinely didn't want the night to end.
Did she find out that you weren't married anymore?
She wanted to come in. Yeah, tell that part.
So I had driven up with all of my friends and my keys were in their car. And if the night was ending, I was like, okay, goodbye, have a good night. He's like, gotta find a way to, he's like, let me give you a ride home. I'm like, it's okay. My keys are in their car. I rode with them. Somehow he went to my friend's husband and maybe told her that I was cool with him getting his keys or whatever, because they went out and got my keys, and he comes straight back in with my keys to me and says, I have your keys. Please go with me. I want to give you a ride home. And I looked at all my friends. I'm like, is this happening right now? I was like, no.
She didn't know that I had written a book called ABCs of Closing. Like, she had no idea that
I put up some resistance. I was like, no, it's okay. I'm really good. And he's like, no, I have your keys. He's like, I'll just drive you to your car. Just let me give you a ride. I need more time to talk to you. And I'm like, okay. Like, we had fun. And I was like, cool. Like, I'll let you give me a ride home. We're driving home and we're on a freeway that's about 30 minutes away from my house, and he gets a phone call, and it's the babysitter. And she's like, hey, we need to go. It's midnight. And he's like, oh, okay, I'm 5 minutes away. I'm like, you are not 5 minutes away. You're 30 minutes from my house. Then you have to drive 30 minutes back to your house. You're like an hour away. I'm like, in my mind, like just having this like conversation of panic. He hangs up and he's like, I'm just going to take you to my house and we'll get you an Uber ride home. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why did I even go with this guy? This is crazy. Whatever. And then I was like, then the thought came to me, oh, I get to go to his house and I can now confirm or debunk the myth of him being married with 3 kids.
You
like,
still hadn't found out
no,
at this point?
We didn't talk about it. Like, and I kind of,
you didn't want to confront
it all
him.
happened so fast. It wasn't something that I was actively thinking about because he was pursuing
her
me
on the dance floor. I was schmoozing with my dance moves.
He was pursuing me and it was smooth, and it wasn't in my mind at that time until it hit again, and I was like, oh, that would be perfect. Yeah, I'll go to his house. Like, so I get to his house, and of course I'm like, the Uber, we're waiting for the Uber. So he's like, well, just come in while you're waiting. And I got in and kind of got an idea, and I was like, oh, it's just a straight bachelor pad. Okay, he's totally not married. Like, he's definitely in a phase like of his life.
So might as well serenade her while looking over the overview and the beautiful skyline of Salt Lake City, Utah, with my guitar.
Rips out his guitar, starts singing a song that he said he wrote for me. So then I was like, man, I think I actually like this guy. He's kind of cute. Like, and we kind of started to connect. And then once we connected, like once I felt myself like connect with him, there's a soul connection. When you feel there's a transfer of energy. And when you feel your soul connect, like, you know that energy has transferred. And I was like, wow, I like him. And I felt that transfer of energy. And at that same moment, my former husband actually had called me, and I was like freaking out.
He calls like multiple times. It's midnight now.
He's
right?
calling me.
You're
My
midnight
former
on
husband.
a Saturday night. Your ex-husband's calling you 3-4 times, and
I'm like,
and
not
what do I
answering
say?
that.
Like a badass. This is what I go. He knows your soul connected with another man.
Straight up. That's what he said. And I was like, oh. And then he sent it. I didn't answer his calls. So then he sends a text and he's like, hey, you're with somebody. I just had a dream. I've woken up from a dream. You're with the guy. Is he treating you how you deserve? I need to know that you're okay. And mind you, he has a girlfriend. He's in his whole phase of life, and we don't hardly ever talk other than our kid. But he literally could feel and know that I was connecting with somebody else because I had not had that transfer of connection yet.
And then and she's like, how the freak did you know? Like, I said it before she looked at the text. And she's like, what the hell? And I go,
and then he goes, let me go get my journal. I'm like, oh no, like somebody save me from this nightmare. Like, am I living in a dream? Is this reality? I don't know what's going on anymore. He runs upstairs, comes back down with this journal and turns
after he serenades you, he has.
Then he pulls out his journal. He's like, you're checking all the boxes. And I'm like, dude, I don't even know. Like, I'm already weirded out. My
she's freaking out.
Calling
she's like,
me.
This is so weird.
This is too much. Like, I need to get the Uber ride. Like, when is the Uber coming? I'm kind of like in and out of this context of like time. And then he pulls it out and I start reading it. And I just like, you get like the chills and like, it feels like you got like a download. You're like, whoo. Like, that's what I felt when I started reading that. I was like, this is an autobiography about me. And I'm like, and I can't like understand it. I can't make it up. But I'm like, I literally am reading my life and all my attributes like in these pages. And I was just like, that's really nice. Cool. Okay. Well, good night.
Unreal.
Yeah.
So,
and then the rest is history. And here we are, day 2. We're interconnected. And then we just keep going and meant to be. Yeah. Soul connection for sure.
And I think like.
It all started though. You designing.
Yeah. It was all design. Like, and I cannot, I call it, don't be sloppy with the pen. You know what I mean? Like, I think too often, and we started noticing ourselves a couple weeks ago, we were like, we've been sloppy with the pen. Like, we have to like wake up to that on a frequent basis. And we're like, why is things so difficult? Oh, because we haven't been designing intentionally. And we are getting what we're putting out. So where are we putting out and designing things unintentionally? And so we're getting unintentional feedback that we don't want. So it's been interesting over the last couple months. So this month we've done a vegetarian cleanse. Like we did a dieta leading into a Peru trip that we did where the whole ayahuasca thing. And it was a few months into a relationship, which happened to be another weird astral, astrologic setting. Anyway, there's a whole nother like mystic magic story to this. But long story short, it's very clear, like down there, I was like, oh, I need to like step up. And I designed somebody that I realized was younger than me, but much more spiritually mature than me. And it was kind of a humbling experience. Like, it was one of those like, oh shit, like I'm not as cool as I thought I was. And Dee is much more pure, queen, badass than maybe I've even given myself permission to deserve in the past. And so my subconscious started sabotaging it. And I started to have to kind of take some hard looks in the mirror to be like, okay, how do I play at this level of spiritual frequency that she plays at? And she's, her energy's like, I'll wait for you to catch up. I'll be patient. You know what I mean? And I'm like, thank you. Like, there's a clear understanding in a loving way. Yeah, like she's even had to fight that. Like, I know you're a little slower than me. Even though on paper I have more money, older, XYZ, and I realized I'm like, I have to step up the equation here. And I think there's a piece to designing of like, did you over design or did you design and are you leveling up and letting your body, your spirit, your mind keep up with that frequency that you're desiring? Because your subconscious might backtrack and settle into a little bit more comfortable. And I had to go through some uncomfort to
I think your subconscious will backtrack. I think what keeps people in alignment and what makes relationships really work is that continual desire to level up, or has how you say it, upgrade. Like if you're constantly upgrading together, then you have a shared vision and you have a shared alignment, where if one person is constantly working for another thing and on different levels, like whether that's in all aspects of wellness, it could be intellectually, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, like if you're emotionally getting higher, you're getting a higher EQ, and you have someone who's a lower EQ, you guys are going to have conflict. You're
Yeah.
going to have conflict. So it's like you have to get together and level up together and have a shared vision and a shared mission for life.
And
So important.
we've been like inseparable, like, and we notice, we're conscious. It's not like everything's been rainbows and butterflies, but mostly
But
yes.
you can design it that
Mostly
way.
yes. Like I would say, like our biggest struggle, you know what it is? Is we want to do too much, and we like so many things and so many people that it's a decision problem. It's like, what should we do today? Let's golf, then ski, then we'll go do this, then we'll it's like our struggle is we have too much fun and
Excitement for
excitement
life.
for life, and it's hard to like hone ourselves back and be like, okay, like how sustainable is all of that?
And the universe aligns with what you design. It gives you exactly that. And so also just staying forward thinking with that instead of and practicing gratitude around the gifts and opportunities that you're given, I think is the biggest power move that you can have, because gratitude will literally help you recognize all the goodness that you have. And I think that's another thing in relationships. Sometimes we forget, or you take for granted, your relationship or the beauty of the things that you guys love, and you don't practice gratitude around each other's attributes, and that makes it difficult. But when you can actually take and Sam did a really amazing job of it just this morning. He's like, I am so grateful for your positivity and light and love, and that just elevated our, even though we've had a crazy busy day, it's just elevated our relationship because we acknowledge something that we're grateful for in each other. Like
100%.
it's a powerful move.
This is awesome. I have a question for you guys, because I notice how happy you guys are. That's one of the biggest reasons I wanted to have you guys on here. Because people say, oh, it's such an elusive thing. It's the pursuit of happiness, in presupposing you always have to pursue it. But when I look at you two, I'm like, these two are like as happy as you can get, right? How do we break it down for the audience? So, but I want to point out one very specific thing that we had a chat about. You said when Sam had one page of design before he had all 4 pages, you guys were in the same place, the same time, but didn't see each other.
Yes, unbelievable. A
Amazing.
year after we meet, we're sitting in a church together just learning, and the reminder photo comes up, and it's this Easter egg hunt. And I was like, oh my gosh, look at how cute the kids were at that time. These are my kids. And Sam was like, let me see that. And he looks at the picture and he's like, I was at that same Easter egg hunt. I was like, no way. And then he was like, yeah. So then he goes digging through his photos and he finds that we are literally looking at the same angle of house at this Easter egg hunt. So we must have been right next to each other. Well, then I watch one of the videos and I'm chasing the kids, trying to film the kids picking up these eggs. And his daughter runs up right next to the kids that I had. And then all of a sudden, this guy comes and I was trying to record the kids, but this guy cuts me off. And I stopped recording right at the end of where he cuts me off. I was like, oh, this guy cut me off. Okay, I'll just go around and start the camera again. But then as we were looking and reviewing these photos, we looked at what he wore and what he looked like. And then at the very end clip of our photo, I'm like, oh my gosh, it was you. We were that close to each other when he cut me off.
And it was the
same time frame.
Brooke, the first girl.
When he wrote the first page. So he was calling me on that first page, but it just wasn't quite enough. It wasn't quite the right timing. I don't know.
We were
It's
3
amazing.
feet from each other.
You designed her. She showed up literally.
She literally showed up.
How long?
It was
A month later.
after my first time designing. So it was a month. So literally I looked at the date. I went on the date with the girl. And the first girl that I was like, oh, shoot, I was sloppy with the pen. It was right then when I met her. It was the same time I met Dee.
We ran into each
I
other
didn't
in the
meet
same
Dee, but
context.
We're
Yeah.
in the same proximity.
Same proximity. And Crazy, wild,
Wow.
mind blowing.
You were in the same place, same time, but your mind, because it was an incomplete design, couldn't see.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
I think there's a message, more than one, but one key message for the audience. Are you designing and actually designing? Are you designing to the point where you're like, I know what I'm after. I know what I'm looking for. I know what I'm seeking. I know. Or is it a fourth of the way, right?
It's a general.
Makes the world of difference.
And he got to learn that too, the lesson of the difference that it makes to have exactly what you want versus, and I love that he had that experience with the previous girl because he really got to see, oh, this is not what I want. I have to be more specific. It's like sometimes that experience teaches you what you want, what you actually want. Your experiences teach you what you're actually looking for.
So like at this seminar we just did, that James guy comes up to me and says, because he's like, how do I find the right coach for me?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, there's a whole spectrum of coaches, right? And I was like, you have the $50 a session coach that's more like a ask you a lot of questions therapist type person, and then you have the $1 million guy that's for an hour, and it's very tactical, very different on his experience and network and connections or whatever, right? And I said, he's like, well, I don't know what I want. I said, well, there's your first problem. And I was like, I can't help you until you sit down and say, these are my big struggles. Then come to me, hand me that paper, design out, here's what I'm trying to solve. Then I could point you in the right direction. Because it could be this one, it could be this one. I don't care. But the problem is you don't know what you want. And he's like, well, how do I find that out? So I have an exercise I do once a quarter, call it sit on a rock. And I'll fast 24 hours and I'll sit on a rock 8 to 12 hours and just journal, pen. And I just did a 3-day fast and kind of a more weekend, 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think too many times people don't spend enough time with the pen, meaning I spend a whole 12 hours and I think
and
it takes
without distraction.
No distraction, no phone, no book, no nothing. Pen, journal.
It's what
rock.
you desire.
Does that make sense? Like that's it. And after 3 hours, I heard a quote by, I think it was like Rob Dyrdek or something. He was talking about the mind. And it takes about 3 hours to get in a creative state where you've eliminated distraction. You've run through every thought process that you think you have. Because usually your mind's still running. Like think of it as like a car cooling down in your garage after you park. It cools down. Eventually it's off. Don't touch the carburetor after a couple hours, right? So for my mind, it was like, okay, I need to be in a place with no distraction, just thinking, me, God, whoever you believe in, and sit and just listen.
Once you do cool the mind down, then that's when the soul comes present.
Yeah.
And your soul really speaks to you in a louder, more profound way and helping you gain clarity on what you actually want. But if you never take the time to do that, usually your soul is just a quiet little whisper in the background until you take that time to sit in stillness and to dissect and get clarity on what your true desires are. Not what you've seen on social media, not what so-and-so is telling you, not what you think you know because your mind's running because of all those different things, but like truly what you desire. You have to do a practice like that.
So important. How many people don't listen to themselves?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
This is a allocated time for listening, because listening to ourselves allows ourselves to design what we want.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we don't know what we're even saying to ourselves. How could we design?
Well, you're always seeking outside people to tell you what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And I call that imposter's wants.
Imposter's wants.
So I wrote a book called The Self-Experience. I should have brought you a copy. I'll send you one.
Please.
But it literally is about this. Like it's about this concept of too many people don't live their self-experience. They're living in someone else's experiences.
Or their past experiences.
Does that make sense? Like they're not conscious of their own experience. Like you're obviously grew up in Asia. You have ex-engineer brain, a way of thinking. You have your ex-personality type. Like, and so if you were to try to play and speak and entertain like I entertain or instruct, it would be like, I'm trying to be Sam, like, Or if I tried to do it like you, I'm trying to be you, right? Like, and we do this, and I'm using that as a simple example, but we do this subconsciously in so many ways where it's like, I want a girl like my friend's girl, but it's like, no, that's just like, because he told you that this is a great experience. Well, I want to go experience that because that's what you told me that I should be experiencing versus like, no, I want to experience
I know
me
what I
and I know
want.
what I want. Has nothing to do with what anybody, and I don't give two F's, what any of you guys all want, because I'm starting to step into me and my power. I'm starting to step into me and my gifts. I'm starting to step into me and my desires, my intentions, my, no shame around I like to crochet and I like to X, and no shame if you like to play video games and you like to X. Like, that's fine. But the problem is due to insecurities, shame, parental constructs, religious constructs. We get these boxes thrown on us and we're trapped. And I think this element of people inviting themselves to say, you get to hold your pen. You've just never really even held your own damn pen. You've been waiting for a school teacher to give you the damn pen and say, write this way. Maybe I don't like cursive, damn it. Does that make sense?
But we need a coach to help that suggestion sometimes, because if you don't know what's clarity, I noticed this today, just William gave me one idea of designing the ideal client. And once I got that idea, then all of a sudden, all these things started coming.
He didn't need to tell you you're 25.
Yeah. He didn't need to tell me my 25 attributes. Some people are like, no, I want you to map it out. Tell me exactly what I need. You suggest one, and then now I let my internal speak to, oh, this is what I actually want.
The framework is key. And that 25 attribute is after so many, I don't know how many hundreds of hours of experimentation. Because if you get more specific, you don't need that specific for clients. Finding the one you do. But clients, if you don't get specific enough, you still don't find the one. So the 25 is a sweet spot for finding the ideal client.
Cool. Love that.
Man, this is a cool story.
It's great.
So much more to unpack. And, I think that, if I may, I'll point this out. I think a lot of us are inches from gold, inches from the ideal relationship, the best opportunities of your life, the most incredible things that you could experience. However, we stop designing. We stop listening to ourselves. And we miss the opportunity to meet the love of our lives. We miss the opportunity to have that opportunity I just spoke of. And a whole list of other things that we never got to design. So I think that to begin any level of true self-improvement, not the, oh yeah, look at me, I went to a seminar and I had a good time and I danced with people and all of that's good. What is the real aspect of that development is you listening to yourself, designing what you want, finding what you want, and having the greatest joy you've ever experienced. And so when I see you guys, I'm like, this is a representation of real joy. I got to bring these two onto God mode. Thank you so much for being here with us.
We're honored to be in your space. Thank you for everything you provide. I really appreciate, just however this happened, it is attributed to you giving that insight and that one suggestion and the coaching and the ability for that. It all ties together seamlessly. I think we're all more interconnected than we even realize, and we really appreciate you for that. So thank you.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. When I met you, I know that we don't need to go into the story of how we got introduced, but I was like, I feel like there's a specific design that would fit Sam, not the previous relationship, because I knew, at that time, and I very intentionally suggested you could design the one. No need to wait, no need to waste time if that's what you want. And then you took action like that, man.
Yes.
That is awesome.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you for being here. We'll have to see you guys again very soon. And once again, these people are living the ideal life based on design, based on what they want, listening to themselves. I encourage you to do the same. Subscribe and like and share this episode for anyone and everyone who you believe deserve to live the life that they deserve. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.